It's a nice setup you have there.
Yeah, it's my little spot, just in my room. My
Little man cave.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I came out to the connection isn't great in my house, so I came out to the gym just to be safe, so we didn't get cut off.
So how are you? How's Ireland?
Whoa. Good. The weather is surprisingly good this weekend. So it was St. Patrick's Day, obviously Thursday. So we've a couple of days off work. Weather is good. So yeah, it's been a good week. Nice and relaxing. The gym is getting done up here, so we've just been kind of renovating, pulling stuff out, painting. So that's kind of been me the last few days.
Very nice. You have your own gym?
No, I just rent a space here off with a girl, so I do I kind of do my own thing, but I'm renting the space and I do a few classes for her and stuff like that. So
nice.
So where are you actually? Where are you based?
Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
All right, very good. Didn't know that in Canada. Well, interesting there, I say now.
Yeah, you guys don't have it quite as crazy as we do, I don't think. But yeah, it's pretty fucking insane over here right now.
Yeah, well, COVID's gone here, so it's disappeared into thin air.
On that note, before we go any further, we don't say that word. That word is
right.
Joy. You can catch
it. Hey, I see your interview with Jan got pulled, so I'll try and not say it, and we'll use sign language.
Well, yeah, so I've been using the codes since I started this podcast with Joy for, the affliction. Some people get a lollipop and some people remain sugar-free. And that seems to be working out. I didn't run through that with Jan, and so he just started talking. And YouTube was not impressed. YouTube was like, bad boy, and took my video down. And, so I went in and I edited it. And I didn't edit any of the content. I literally just took out the words and dropped in new words. And that seemed to fool the algorithm.
Yeah, I don't think it would have made any difference saying it to him anyway. I don't think he would have stuck to the plan, but
he might have. He's pretty good. He's a good guy, but
yeah, no, he's cool. I've been looking at his stuff for a few years now, so it's good to have you.
Epic.
Yeah.
So yeah, how are things with the Joy over there now?
Yeah, as I said, it's almost non-existent, to be honest. Everything's, all the rules are gone now. Yeah, it's just pretty much, I hate even saying back to normal or new, but it's like it was before. Did you get me? We still have a few people covering their faces and that, but yeah, no, it's good. I mean, it's nice to just, it's nice. It's just nice to be able to go for food, it's the little things. So I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts, if it lasts. So.
Did it affect your business there, like your training?
At times it did, as in so the girl that I'm renting off, she was against the lollipop as well. So we kind of fought as much as we can. But yeah, so I was kind of doing my own thing when I wasn't supposed to be. Overall, I wasn't too affected, but I was a little bit but I was lucky compared to other people, because there was people losing their jobs, especially when, the mandatory, lollipops came in, and everyone was, I have some friends that working in gyms, and they were forced to leave, and forced to ask clients to show papers and this kind of thing, and luckily I never had to do any of that, so it was good.
Fair enough. Well, why don't you tell us the origin story? Where does Dean come from? What got you to where you are now?
All right. How far back do you want to go?
Far back as you want. I like to go all the way back to the day you were born. I want to hear about
your
mom. I'm kidding.
Okay. Well, I'm living in Dublin now, but I'm actually from a place called Waterford. So it's on the southeast, on the coast of Ireland. It's actually the oldest city in Ireland. So I like throwing that out whenever I get a chance, because anyone in Dublin thinks that Dublin is like the only place in Ireland. Like they think anywhere outside Dublin is basically farmland. But Ireland's the oldest city. So probably where I go back, I guess it's normal childhood. It's mother, father, sister. Was always into sport, mainly soccer. So football. Started playing that since when I was 9. To play soccer was my main sport up to probably around 13, 14, and then I started taking an interest in boxing and kickboxing. And I started probably around 15. Started boxing. Then I went kickboxing, and I competed in both of them for 4 or 5 years, probably till I was 19, late 19, early 20s. And then just kind of got to that age, I discovered drink, drugs, women, and all that. It all kind of hit me at once, because probably up until that point, I was a bit of kind of a late bloomer in regards to drinking and all that stuff, because I was always fairly into my training. So my friends were off drinking and doing the usual. I wasn't too involved a lot of the time. So 19, 20 here, if I stopped competing in boxing because it was just too it's just one of them sports that you have to be all in or you're not in at all. And I remember actually my last fight, the last boxing fight I had at that time, it was up at the national championships, we'll say. So it's on up in Dublin, up in the national stadium, it's famous stadium. Went up anyway, and I got hammered around the ring, and then I was thinking, what's going on? But the week before I was out drinking with the lads on the town drinking, and I'm wondering why I'm getting the head boxed off me in the ring. So that was kind of a wake-up call, and I was like, right, that's it. I'm going to take a break away. I actually planned only just to take a couple months off, and then I get back to it. But 2 months turned into 6 months, and then before I know it, then it was a year gone. I wasn't having been trained, so I was still playing football then at that stage, like soccer. While they were kind of my heavy party phases, I suppose. 19 up until 26, just a lot of drinking and just doing the stuff that young people do, really. I moved to Australia I can't remember what year it was, maybe 2010. So I was like 24, and then just continued the partying, the traveling, just living that life, backpacking for 2 years, until I just reached a point that I just felt fucking terrible. Mentally, physically, it just felt crap, but just felt terrible all over. So I started back training. No real goal or vision. I just started back, went down to the local boxing club over in Australia, started training, and I just got the buzz back again. And I just was training flat out for probably 6, 7, 8 months, and then I still had no intention of competing again. Just I wanted to get back training for my own health. But the coach down there he was a professional fighter at the time, and he was training with professional fighters. So he had fighters coming in, and I was training with them and sparring with them, doing well against them. These were professional fighters, and I was having on a 6, 7 year bender. So that kind of, and he was always like, you need to get back fighting, like you need to take it up again. I was always like, nah, I'm not into whatever. But I was slowly kind of getting my confidence back. And then actually decided to go MMA training, because the guy I was working with was mad into MMA, and he's like, come along training. So I went up there, started doing the classes there, jiu-jitsu, loved it. And then, that was pretty much it. Started training flat out in MMA. started competing again. I had four fights in Australia. At that time, then that's when I was considering like I might try and make a living out of this, because again I was training with guys that were professional, and I was able to hold my own with them. So yeah, then I moved back to Ireland after the visa ran out, and this is the time now when Conor McGregor was just. You're familiar with MMA, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, cool. So Conor McGregor was just bursting on the scene in the UFC at this stage. So obviously the whole scene in Ireland was buzzing, because before I went to Australia, it wasn't big at all. I remember when I was doing kickboxing, there was like 6 fellas in the corner of the room that used to do jiu-jitsu, and no one knew what they were doing. Like, no one knew anything about it. Like, everyone used to think, what the typical old school mentality towards jiu-jitsu. But so when I got back, I moved to Dublin and I joined Straight Blast Gym, which was Conor McGregor's gym, and I started training there. Got myself onto the fight team. So obviously there's probably 1,000+ members there, which the fight team is like 50 people with all the pros and all the good amateurs, the guys that are coming through. So I got onto that team. Was planning on making, going professional, but it's just, I don't know, it's like it just didn't happen for me. It was probably because of my own self and little things. I got a back injury that put me out for a year. Then I got back training. I remember I got back training for like 6 months or 6 weeks, and then I broke my hand wrestling. So then I was gone for another 2 months. Then I finally got back training, got a fight booked, and the week before the fight, the whole show got cancelled because it didn't sell tickets or something. And it was just like knock after knock. I was like, Jesus, like, this is just not happening. Now I was turning 31, 32 probably this stage, so that was playing on my mind as well. Like, even if I did turn professional, the chance of making a living are slim, because I was seeing what was going on. Like, because Conor McGregor was making millions, and all the other lads in the gym trying to make it. There were some lads in Bellator, some fighting in different Cage Warriors in the UK, and they're all still on social welfare and slumming it, like. And I was like, I'm all for like believing in yourself and having dreams in that, but there's a time when you have to just be fucking honest with yourself. Like, this, it's probably not going to happen. Like, I could have turned pro and just had a few fights and then retired, but so all this was going on, and at the same time I was like working construction, doing labour, and like hating that side of my life. Like, I hated it, because I'd done construction since I was like 17. I done start off plumbing, and I was doing it all through Australia, and I was making just average money for like killing yourself every day, and I knew I didn't want to do this the rest of my life. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just decided, and then when I kind of accepted that the fighting wasn't going to take off, I was like, it was just a natural progression that I was going to go into coaching people. Or so, even though I didn't fully know what I wanted to do, I just went back to college for a year, got my personal training degree, and started working towards that. So I was studying on the side and then trying to make it as a fighter on the other side, and then they all kind of eventually they just clashed when I started working in gyms, and the times I was supposed to be working when I'm supposed to be training. So I knew it was time to make a choice. So I left the fighting and just dedicated myself to the coaching. So that's kind of what I've been at the last. By the time I started studying, probably 4 or 5 years. So yeah, that's sort of my story so far anyway. But there was a lot going on in that as well, because I suppose I was becoming woke, you know, in all that period as well. Like, you know, I was getting more conscious of what's going on in the world and getting more and more health conscious. And the back injury that I had, so I was the one that put me out for a year. That was kind of really the thing that set me on the journey that I'm on now, because I was actually scratched before the back injury. I went down that vegan rabbit hole for 6 years, and I was a vegan / vegetarian for 6 years, and then had the back injury, and the back injury then led me to all these different, just trying all this stuff, trying to get rid of the pain, chiropractors, masseuses, you know, I went to energy healers. Nothing was working. Nothing was getting rid of my back pain. I remember actually, I was so desperate that I was writing intentions down on a piece of paper and burning them in little rituals, trying to get rid of it. Like, that's how desperate I was. Like, and I spent thousands trying to get rid of the pain. Like, it was just like not messing for a year straight. It was just going to therapist after therapist trying to fix my back pain. Eventually, I found one that helped. So that's I kind of got curious then what she was doing, and I started actually doing the courses that she was doing, and I tied that in then with her kind of a holistic approach. I tied that in with my kind of fitness background and martial arts background. So I started studying with the Czech Institute. I'm not sure if you heard of it. It's Paul Chek is the guy who started. He's probably the most well-known holistic health practitioner in the world, I would say. He's definitely up there. He's a pioneer in the industry. You know, he's quite a spiritual guy, but he's also kind of very. If you've seen a picture now, he's like an old guy. He's like in his 60s, but he's ripped. He's ripped to shreds. So he's kind of like, he's one of the first people that I kind of the same thing. They merged like that fitness and, you know, health and fitness with spirituality, and it was kind of made it cool for me anyway, at least, because up to that point, any kind of spiritual stuff I was exposed to would have been like your Eckhart Tolles and people that were fun to listen to, but I couldn't really relate to them. Like, how can I relate to this guru that's up in a mountain kind of thing? But the Czech Institute kind of made it all more accessible, I suppose, for me. So that's I started studying. I'm still studying with the Czech Institute, and tying in all that, the fitness, the nutrition, you know, stress management, all that stuff. So yeah, that's hopefully makes sense. So how did that compress your life into 5 minutes, I suppose? But
well, you did pretty good, I think. A lot there. One thing I want to ask you about, I am a big martial arts fan. I've been watching UFC since like the first one. So it was really fascinating as a fan to watch the Conor McGregor phenomenon happen, because I remember his first fight in the UFC and kind of being like, oh, okay, something new, right? And then just seeing that blow up. And as a Canadian, we had George St. Pierre, which was a very similar thing for us. Like when George would fight, you know, MMA fans would, you know, just because they're Canadian, would become MMA fans, even though they weren't, you know, kind of getting behind that nationalistic thing. But the way you guys blew up for Conor was unworldly. Like, it was really kind of ridiculous from this perspective. What was it like from there? Was it as big of a deal there?
Yeah, well, see, I was in Australia at the time. So I kind of missed all that in a sense. This is funny, like, because as I said, I was boxing mad, like boxing, like, I used to be like an encyclopedia of boxing. There was one point in my life where I used to watch all the old fights. So you could name a fighter, and I could just, you know, I could list off his record, who he beat, all that kind of stuff. So I never knew much about MMA. I really only started taking notice of MMA when Nick Diaz was fighting BJ Penn. And I always liked Nick Diaz. Everyone does, you know what I mean?
How can you not like Nick Diaz?
Yeah. But it's funny because I remember this. I turned on the telly and there was a Cage Warriors. So Cage Warriors is like the MMA in Europe. It's kind of the Europe scene. And Conor McGregor was fighting for his second world title. He fought that Bushima fella. I can't think that was his name. One where he knocked him out and he slipped and then he came back with the left and just, you know what I mean, knocked your man out cold. I was watching this and I said, geez, this fella's good, like, he moves well and all this. And then I heard the commentator goes, and the Irish crowd, and I was like, what? This fella's Irish? This is unheard of, like, I didn't even know this was going on in Ireland at the time, like, you know. So that was kind of when I first started to pay more attention, like that it was big in Ireland. But it wasn't until I got home and I realised that how many people were doing it. Like, because I would have been, like, if I'm from Waterford, like, it's a small town, so all the fighters kind of know each other. Even if you're doing kickboxing, boxing, karate, like, everyone kind of knows each other. And I couldn't believe how many people that were never really into fighting before, but now all of a sudden they're up doing MMA. Like, it kind of made it fighting cool, if that makes sense. And obviously then as he got bigger, it just completely blew up. And then all of a sudden then you had 60-year-old women talking about martial arts. And my mother knew who Conor McGregor was. And it's just like, what? I've been fighting since I'm 15. And you never came to any of my... Mother won't watch me fight, like, she couldn't. I mean, she wouldn't be able to watch me, but she knows about Conor McGregor, so it was insane, man.
Yeah, it was definitely something to watch for sure. I mean, I'm the kind of guy who, whenever someone like that comes along, I'm like kind of the naysayer, being like, yeah, he's not that good. Yeah, he's not that good. You know, I'm like, eventually he's going to lose. And I remember I actually almost got into a fight the night he fought Khabib Nurmagomedov, because going into the fight, I was around, there's a few Irish guys there, a few other European dudes there, and everyone was cheering for Conor. And I'm like, no, Khabib's going to fuck him up. Everybody was like, no. And the one guy was like, I think it was the end of the first round. I'm like, it's over. Conor's going down. And the guy's like, how about you and me outside right now? The one Irish guy, I'm like, Kennedy's from Ireland and all. I love him. He's a great fighter. And hell to listen to, but Khabib's going to get him. And then he did. But like, I remember the kind of boom in Canada, and it definitely wasn't anywhere near as big as what you guys must have had with Conor. George never really became that international star like Conor did.
Yeah, I always liked George. You know what? It's funny. As I get older and the more I kind of mature as a person, the more I respect George St. Pierre. Because I love to just... I'm kind of I'm into like the whole martial arts thing, like, and like living like a martial artist and like making it like a part of your life. Like, much I love fighting, I don't like now when they're up on stage and it's just like, you know, it's just kind of gone WWE kind of thing. I hate that, like, that just doesn't, it annoys me, like. But with GSP, I like the whole thing. He come in and he's respectful and he shake the hand before and then he still whoop your ass after, like, so. I always liked that about him. But the thing with Conor is it's real with him. Like, it's the trash talk is like, he's not faking it. Like, he's quick. You know, Irish people are quick with their tongue, like, you know, especially down the pub, and they're quick with comebacks and for, you know, to take the mick out of people. But
yeah, I think it was proven to be real when he broke his leg. And Joe Rogan sat next to him and he went on that rant. It was like, you know, if he's in that situation and that's what's coming out of him, like, that's really his personality. That's really who he is. Yeah. But
like Irish people are funny. Like we do, Irish people, they do get behind their fighters, but it's kind of, we like to knock our own as well. So if you talk about Conor McGregor and Earn, you're going to get the people who love him and the people that absolutely despise him. And then there's a lot of them people, like, do you know what I mean? So and I don't know if it's an Irish thing or it's worldwide, but sometimes people don't like seeing other people succeed, and they like to knock other people. So there was a lot of happy people when Khabib choked him out.
Yeah. It's like I'm still waiting to get to see John Jones lose for the same reason.
I'm not sure, but I think as good as John Jones is, I don't think there's many people that actually like him.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's like I remember watching his rise as well, and he was always such a nice, well-spoken dude. And then to see how fake that all was the part that bothered me, right? Like I think of someone like Damian Maia. Damian Maia is a fucking teddy bear. Like I just want to hug that guy every time I see him, even though he'd probably choke me unconscious if I tried. I just want to hug the guy because you can just tell like that's his personality. And I remember with John being like absolutely blown away by his talent, and then wanting to believe in that personality, like wanting to believe he really was that guy, you know, like. But it very quickly kind of that image shattered. And so yeah, like I can respect, you know, someone like Connor who just comes in and like, this is who I am all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. People don't like fakeness. Like no matter, you know, you're better off just being right. Like, even look at Kobe Covington. Like it's kind of hard to tell with him. I don't know. Is that him or is it? Do you know what I mean? That's what I keep saying to me. I have a couple of mates who are big into MMA, and we're like if he's actually like that, I'll respect him. Like, but if it's fake, you know, you don't like that. Like,
well, he's publicly said that it was fake. He basically told the story that the UFC was going to cut him, so he did the trash talking, and it worked. I mean, look at Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen kind of opened the door for everyone to start doing that. But it's also like I kind of feel like you do, where it's like at times they blur the line between WWE and UFC at this point, because it's like, as an example, no disrespect to Connor, but if he comes back to a title shot, like they're talking about him coming back to a title shot, it's like, why? The guy hasn't, like, when was the last time he won a fight? You know. Yeah. But that's the WWE aspect of it, which is a little disappointing.
Yeah, it's and one aspect, like, you can't blame the fighters because there's not a lot of money to be made. Enough people realize that, like, but you know, I mean, 1% of the people are making all the money. Like, as I said, from being around fighters and training fighters, like, unless you're in the UFC, you're not making anything. You know, so they have to do something, create hype around them. But the thing is, some people are naturally good at that, and then other people are just, they're not, and then you know what I mean, they fake it and they just look silly. Like, I mean, even look like someone like Henry Cejudo is kind of just, you know, you hear people trash talking, it's kind of just cringing. Like, it's like that's not you. Like, just, you know what I mean?
He's just trying to get fights, and then I mean, so sometimes it works, but it's not working right now. I think he just and Connor were just going back and forth like yesterday or something. But yeah, what's it? The preparation for a fight versus the fight itself. What's the difference there? Like, which is harder, I guess?
The preparation. You know, it's fighting so hard mentally. It's just so obviously it's tough physically, but the physical kind of stuff you get, you're used to it. You're used to getting punched in the face, and over years you're kind of, that's not the issue. It's just mentally lead up to the fight. You have to watch what you're eating, watch, you know, always looking at the scales, then having the stress of knowing that there's some other fella out there training to beat the shit out of you ultimately, you know. So the mental aspect is the hardest. Well, it's the part I always found the hardest, because as one of my coaches, like John Cavan, used to say, it's not the fight doesn't make people scared. It's getting knocked out in front of your girlfriend makes you scared. You know, being made a fool of in front of your whole family. I mean, your ego getting shattered, like, you know, because you can build yourself up thinking that you're a badass. You know what I mean? Then all of a sudden you know, you get it brought back down to reality. But yeah, the build up is definitely worse. Like, because the fight is only 9 minutes, 10 minutes at most. And the fights can be tough, but when you're actually in the fighting, like the adrenaline's going, it's like you're on autopilot a lot of time, like, and it just kind of happens, like, you don't even, I won't say you don't have time to think, but after the fight you get out and you're just like, in your head it's just a big blur of like punches being thrown. And do you ever see people when they see fights and they're like, oh, you should have done that, you throw this punch, it's like, it's different when you're right there in front of someone. Like, it's easy on the outside just shouting in saying to throw this punch or that punch, but yeah, the mental is definitely the worst. I struggled, like, especially when I was younger, when I was starting off, when I was 16, 15, 16, I would have been shy. Now, I was a kid who was always kind of fighting, no matter where I was going, on the playground, in school, with my cousin. My cousin were best friends growing up, and we used to beat the shit out of each other over anything, over a computer game or whatever it was. But I was still very shy and nervous kid. So when I was boxing, I used to be very nervous before fights, but I wouldn't be able to say that because the boxing scene it's very macho, masculine orientated. Even in the dressing room beforehand, there could be 6, 7, 10 fighters that are getting ready, and they're all, I'm going to kill, 16-year-old kids, 17-year-old kids, and they're like, I'm going to do this to him, I'm going to do that to him, and I was kind of like, just to myself, like, hoping I don't, make a fool of myself. But then I always used to think that there was something wrong with me because I was scared back then. Do you get me? In my head, I always think, I'm scared now, and all the other kids are not scared. There's something wrong with me. But as I got older, you just kind of learn that that's a part of it, and it's okay to be afraid, and it's actually quite normal to be afraid. And you actually perform better when you are afraid because it keeps you sharp. So yeah, I think if I had been more aware of that in my younger days, I probably would have performed a lot better. Like, because I definitely had, there was performances that I didn't fulfill my potential really, especially when I was younger, because I let my mind defeat me a lot of times. And I can see that now, like, but again, it's all experience, I suppose. And
I don't think most people understand how much is going on in the mind when you're fighting.
Oh,
like, even if it's just a street fight, like it's all in here a lot of the time. Like, especially if you got two people who are untrained or you got two people who are trained to fight, it still boils down to just have whoever's got the stronger mind at that moment. I've seen that with fighters, like in the UFC. I've seen it in gyms. I've seen it everywhere. I've been there in a fight where it's like, I've been in a fight and I know I can beat this guy up, but for whatever reason, I'm not thinking straight and hitting him. You gotta make that adjustment to get your head back where it's supposed to be.
Like if for example, I remember my first MMA fight in Australia. So obviously we was having that big break, so I wasn't after fighting in a few years. So that's just the first fight back. And the day of the fight, just woke up and it was just the nerves. It was just like the fights are on that night, so you have the whole day to try and kill this time, try and relax, try and pretend, get it out of your head that you're actually fighting that night. And you're just trying to relax. When you're nervous, then you don't want to eat food. So I'm trying to force myself to eat because I need the energy for later. Even though I'm not hungry at all, my nerves, I'm lying in my room trying to breathe, going for walks, just trying to calm myself down. 6 o'clock comes in, you make your way to the venue, get to the venue, and then you have to wait another couple hours because you're not fighting for mid-card, or so then you're just sitting there in the dressing room waiting, watching all these fighters get ready slowly, and you start wrapping your hands, you start warming up, and by the time, as you said, your mind can just kill you in this little period. Like, it can kill you or it can empower you. But by the time if it does kill you, by the time you actually get into the ring or the cage, you're so exhausted, mentally drained from the day that you just had. Your adrenaline has just gone through the roof. sometimes you get into the ring and it's just, you feel like you can't throw a punch. The pop is gone. You feel drained, and it's just, the fight then just becomes something that you need to get through, rather than, I can't even explain it. Like, it's just, yeah. So, that's kind of what it's like. But sometimes so I've had a lot of fights there, but some fights then you get in there and it's like you feel like Superman. And then other fights you get in there and you just feel like you've never fought a day in your life. So I think the more experience you have, the more you kind of get used to them feelings and just realizing that they're normal. But
yeah, I do therapy, and there's a lot of talk about dreams, and people often report having dreams of like being in some type of physical altercation, and like their punches are like pillows, like they can't pack a punch. And I've heard professional fighters tell me that it feels the same when your mind is off and you're in the ring.
Yeah, I've had them dreams before. Yeah, the ones, the dreams where you're trying to run away from someone, and it's like you're stuck. It's just like, yeah, but yeah, it's. I think that's what separates like the really good fighters and because every fighter knows some fighter that was brilliant in the gym. Oh, you should see this fella train, see him sparring, he's unbelievable. But when he steps in the cage, he can't perform, and he crumbles. So it's definitely the difference between being good and being elite.
We see it with a lot of pro fighters where they get like up to number one contender title shot area, and then they don't look like the same guy when they go in.
Yeah, Donald Cerrone for one. How many title shots did Cerrone get?
Nick Diaz.
Nick Diaz. Yeah, same. It's funny. Like, well, I learned a lot. Like, you learn a lot being around fighters, like, especially professional fighters. You see what they do, and I never trained with Conor, but I would have trained on the mats with them or with him at the same time. All the fight team would train together. Like, so he was training. I would have trained and seen him train a lot for the Eddie Alvarez fight. So he was in the gym a lot that time with Dylan Dennis and all the lads he had in the gym. But yes, it's just it's good experiences to see how they navigate kind of the training camp and how they're trained and how they carry themselves and that. At the time, I didn't think I was learning, if that makes sense. It's only when you look back and you realize you're actually picking up a lot. Like,
yeah, I think that the fear thing is normal, and I think you're right that it's the good fighters, like I've heard George St. Pierre talk about this, who can kind of alchemize that fear into strength, right? And like use it to stay alert, stay defensive. And I would imagine even pushing yourself through training, it probably comes in there a lot more than ego would to push yourself forward.
Yeah. See, from my perspective anyway, when I was training for a fight, it would always been like, so you wake up first thing in the morning, you're like, oh Jesus, fight now in 3 weeks. So, but then you get on with your day and you go train. You do well in training, you sweat and you get the endorphins out. And by the end of the day, then you have to maybe done a couple of sessions, and then you feel all confident. You're like, yeah, well, I'm ready for it. Let's go sleep. Then you wake up, then the nerves are all there. The nerves are there again. So it's like the training gives you confidence. I think you have to train to kind of get rid of those like little jitters or nerves so yeah, it's just about how you use the fear, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned your back injury, and you also tied in your diet at the time. How related do you think that was?
Yeah, sorry, one sec. Yeah, it was all related because in the end, the back pain was actually come from the digestive issues, from all the vegan food, the grains and the legumes and all the supposedly healthy, high fiber foods. Basically, I couldn't digest them. I couldn't digest the food I was eating, and I had no knowledge back then, really, if I thought I did, but actually didn't. That's funny because before one of my fights, I was actually so bloated the day before the fight that it was like I was pregnant. Couldn't eat anything. I felt horrible. So that happened a few times, and then when it happened before the fight that time, that kind of made me think like something's just not right here. Like, 'cause this isn't normal. I'm eating all this healthy food, you know. And I wasn't a junk food vegan before. That's what all the vegans think straight away. Like, it was, you know, I was strange. I was eating good food, fruits, vegetables, you know, legumes, all that. But as I say, that's why none of the therapists could help me, because the physios and these manual therapists, they were like digging in at the muscle, trying to release muscles, but it wasn't coming from the muscle. It was coming from inside me. It was coming from the digestive system. So your organs and glands don't have pain receptors. So when there's something going on with one of your organs or glands, they refer muscles out, or they refer pain out to the muscles. So I'm sure you know, like, so if you have a liver issue, it can show up as right shoulder pain, or, you know, different things like that. So the pain was kind of down my lower back, by the bottom rib. So where the intestines are, and that's what was referring the pain out. So when I finally found that the girl, she was the first person to look at my diet, like, in a year of going to see people. Actually longer. It was a year in Ireland going to people, and a year in Australia going to people. Looked at my diet, and she was, you need to start eating meat again. So then that was another crisis of self. You know, I'm not the vegan anymore. I've after building this up for so long. Like, you know, when everyone knows me now, I'm this. You know, I mean, I was never like an activist vegan, but I was pretty into the whole thing. Like, because I thought I was doing it for ethical reasons and the spiritual reasons and all that. So I had to kind of get over that and start eating meat again. And I did. I put up a little bit of resistance to it for a few weeks, and then eventually I just gave in, and I started eating meat again. And in fairness to it, within 2 months I was back training again, and the pain more or less went away, which was, I mean, it's pretty surreal when you think, when you're chasing symptoms for that long, and then something so simple, then it's just stopped. The inflammation stopped in my body, basically.
Yeah, I've been through it. I've done the vegan thing, and what happened with me was I started to get like my emotions were just so dysregulated. I would like cry at the drop of the hat. I would get mad like that quick, and I could never figure out why.
Yeah,
and I had started, like, I'd added meat back, and that kind of went away, but I still wasn't healthy. I started, when would that have been? Maybe 2019. I decided I was going to try the carnivore thing, because a friend of mine, Michaela, she had like I'd known her whole life. She had like a lot of health issues, and then she did that and became kind of popular for having done that, and it actually did help her. So I was like, oh, okay, let me try that.
Jordan Peterson's daughter, is it?
Yeah. And yeah, so I tried it, and it worked. Like, I've got broken vertebrae. I've got all kinds of problems with my ribs and my back, and all of that stuff just started going away. And even problems I was having with like other joints I wasn't noticing started going away. And I'm like, wow, I'd wake up every day and I would be like this, and I'd be like, wow, I have no pain. And the other thing was energy. Like, I would wake up, and before even having coffee, my energy was good. Like, it was good, and it would stay that all day long, like all the way through the day. And then nighttime would come, and I'm like looking at the clock being like, oh, it's bedtime, and I could just lay down and go to sleep. But I never felt like the up and down of like energy coming and going. It was just this baseline all day. Yeah.
Are you still carnivore?
Yeah, I've over last year I kind of went off of a bit, and then starting this year I started to get back into it. I kind of fucked up a bit through February, but since the beginning of March I've been back on. All I do is I basically eat steak for about 7 days, and then I cooked a duck. So duck. And so steak and then duck and then back to steak, all cooked in animal fat. Like, I use the duck fat to cook the steak. And then I like sweets. Like I used to eat like I'm a bit of an ice cream snob, but I'd eat like a container of Haagen-Dazs almost every night because I just love sugar. And so what I did was at the beginning of the month, I bought myself like frozen blueberries and honey. I was just mixing like some heavy cream, frozen blueberries and honey. And then after a couple of days, it was like I started taking the honey out. And then after a couple more days, I started taking the cream out. And now it's just blueberries and steak. So I'm calling it like my bear diet.
Yeah. That's cool, man. I tried, I wouldn't say I was full carnivore, but I have gone days where I was mainly eating just protein with little bits of fruit. Again, I felt good. What would happen to me, I'd feel good for 2-3 days, but on the 4th day or the 5th day, I just need some carbohydrates, you get me? Because so I live a fairly busy life as well, so I'm moving a lot, training a lot, and on the go, on my feet a lot, so yeah, like the diet, man, it's some rabbit hole, like it's there's so many different diets, and people get attached to their diets, and you have all these different camps, and they all work. That's the thing. They all work for someone at some time. Like when I first went vegan, I felt great, and my skin got better, my hair got better, and everyone was telling me, "What's going on with you? You're looking great." Like, so it's obviously I was eating a lot of detoxifying foods and fruits and vegetables, but it's hard to sustain long term. You know, it really is. And I've talked to a lot of people over the years who, again, were similar to me, felt great at the start, but just couldn't sustain it. You know, and then the more I think about it, it's just like why was it? Like, why is anyone? I think cutting out, unless you have a good reason to, I don't see any reason to cut out a complete food group, especially not based on some documentary you saw on Netflix or whatever. Like, fair enough, I understand people they go keto and carnivore they help with different health issues and stuff like that. And vegan, like vegan diets can be shown to reverse heart disease in some cases. But again, just because it reverses heart disease for someone with heart disease, it doesn't mean that you should be eating that.
I think we're all different in that way. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like one man's medicine is another man's poison. And you have to look at genetics and stuff like that. That was another thing for me. I'm from Ireland. Like, fruits and vegetables don't grow in the winter. Do you get me? So it's impossible to be vegan in Ireland without... So you've all these vegans eating pineapples in the middle of winter and cashews and all this stuff. Like, being vegan is a Western privilege. Let's, be real about it. Like if you go to any of these tribal people, they'd laugh at that. Like, they eat what's available to them. Fish, whatever berries and fruits are seasonal to their area,
And we seem to be able to adjust too. Like you were mentioning, when I went vegan, it was the same thing. I did have a bunch of improvements. When I went carnivore, I had a bunch of improvements. I think the difference is I've noticed the carnivore improvements have maintained, whereas the vegan ones did kind of drop off on me.
Yeah.
My own body, not necessarily the diet either way. But a lot of people, their reasons are more spiritual based or, against animal cruelty, which I totally understand because factory farming is fucking gross, right? But I grew up on farms. I know that it can be done well and that, animals can be loved and respected. And, the bottom line is animals are going to die eventually anyways, right? So who's to say that it's our place to come in and play that role, but we play that role and life feeds on life on this planet. It's just something we have to accept.
That was a big...
Our belief plays a big part in it, right? Like us believing that a diet is going to work for us, it seems to make the diet work for us. It's the same reason placebo is effective like 70% of the time. Yeah, and that's, as you said, life eats life, and
chickens can't make a difference in the world. Right, cows can't, but humans can. When people might get upset by saying something like that, but at the end of the day, if if you're not healthy, you can't make a difference. You can't even, what good are you to your family or your friends or your partner if you're sick from eating a diet that's malnourishing you? Yeah, because that's the way I was. My digestion was, it was terrible. I couldn't go for food. It was go for dinner with my girlfriend, and I'm bloating here and I'm gassy, and it's just like, But as you said, it's about listening to your own body and getting in tune with your body. People are so in love with other people's ideas, written in books. How many diet books are written? Thousands. They can't all be right, can they?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, so we need to start listening to our own bodies and paying attention when things aren't working for you. I mean, if your sleep is off, that's a sign. If you're not, do you know how many people are constipated and they don't realize they're constipated? Like I assess people, people come in here, I do assessments with them and food logs, and I ask people, how's your digestion? Oh, fine. How often do you go to the toilet? Oh, every couple of days. It's like, what? Do you mean this is how disconnected people are from themselves? You know, if your skin's breaking out, that's something's going on. If you have, whatever issue it has, like, these are signs that there's something going on in your body, but people want to take a pill for it instead of actually paying attention.
I think there's a lot of people out there who, maybe look at their health, look at their weight, and would like to change, but it just seems so daunting. They don't know where to start. I'm sure you deal with people like that all the time. For someone like that, what's kind of your suggestion? What's your motivation to get them on the path?
Right. Number one, you have to be honest with yourself. That's the most important thing. Just being honest with yourself and realizing. Stop bullshitting yourself. There's so many people just absolutely just bullshit themselves, right? Getting real with yourself is the first thing, and realizing that whatever is going on with you, that you need to change the way you're living. Like, so that would be my first advice: to just have a chat with yourself and just get honest. Now, there's so many, as we said, there's so many diets and different things that people kind of can get that they don't know where to start because they turn on Instagram and there's all this different stuff. They don't know which diet to get. Their friend is doing this diet, they want to try that, and then do all this stuff. They don't know where to start. I would start by just eating real food. It sounds simple, but some people don't even understand what real food is. So I'm talking about single ingredient foods, food that doesn't have labels, fruits, vegetables, meats, some nuts and seeds, or, that would be the most basic thing. And just, if you can start doing that and just drink for some people, some of my clients, the first thing I have them do is just drink water. But that's the only thing you have to do for the next 2 weeks. Drink 2 liters of water a day. And add a little bit of sea salt in it from your minerals, and that's where you have to go with some people. It's good to have a coach, especially if you're really don't know where to start, or you're scared to start. Because I'm sure that when I was starting off all this stuff, I was just reading books, and I went around the long way. When I look back now, if I had just hired someone who knew what they were doing, it would have saved me a lot of time and effort and serious man hours looking at stuff on YouTube and reading. But yeah, I think that's. If you or find someone in the position where you want to be, and ask them what they did, and copy them. That's what I do now with anything. If I want to know, if it's in a subject I want to know about, I'll hire that coach for an hour and consult with him and learn off him. And I've done that lots of times, and that accelerates your learning a lot. So yeah, that probably, if you can get on the real food, start simple, start small. Don't try and go over give yourself 10 things to do at once. Maybe it might be just change your breakfast for the next 3 weeks and actually eat breakfast, because a lot of people don't eat breakfast. They just get up and they have a coffee and they're off to start their day. So
that also depends on the person. Like me personally, I fast every day. Like I do intermittent fasting. It's just what works for me. I find if I eat in the morning, I feel like crap all day. That's just my own observation. But I observed that, right? I didn't just assume that because I read in the book. I wasn't like, oh, this expert says you shouldn't eat in the morning, so I'm going to stop eating in the morning. I was realizing I had this problem by like noon where I just felt like crap all the time. I'm like, what could be the solution? What do I do between point A and point B? I do this, this, and this. Okay, well, let's remove that. That didn't do anything. Let's remove this. Oh, that was it, right? So I think you're right. Like people kind of being honest with themselves, being a little bit more attentive to how they feel. Like I don't think a lot of people actually stop and think about how they feel. You were mentioning pain earlier. People are in pain all the time and not really recognizing that they're in pain. We are really good at ignoring things that require discipline to change.
Yeah, and that's I'm not against fasting or a vegan. I'm not against vegan diet. I'm not against anything that works for you. But see, a lot of people I see, they're so stressed. Like they have kids, they have busy jobs. They're just fatigued. Do you get me? They're tired. Now, if that's a person that comes to me, I'm not going to tell them, just don't eat breakfast. Like half these people aren't eating enough anyway. They're skipping meals. They're drinking too much coffee, and then they want to fast then because they saw it on the internet. Like it's just like I try and get people. See, when you have a baseline of health, like when you have a high level, so we say when you have the green box, the yellow box, and the red box. If you're in the green zone with a decent level of health and vitality and all that, you can play around with stuff. You can play around with fasting, a keto diet, juice fat, whatever it is, and your body could handle that. But if you're in the red zone, you're highly stressed. You need to bring that back down. Now, for someone in the red zone, I wouldn't recommend not eating breakfast or going on a low-calorie diet or whatever. These people need more balance in their life and need more good nutrition to help them bring them back into balance. And then you can start playing around with different things. But as you say, like, and I understand what, it's not easy, like, 'cause, like people, they have kids, they have busy lives. It's I don't have kids. I know it's easy for me to say, but so it's just doing what you can with what you can, but being diligent with it as well. Like you really have to, like, it's inconvenient to be healthy in this day and age. It's so easy not to be healthy. It's all the junk food is just there right at your fingertips. I can order pizza when I'm sitting having a shit. Do you know what I mean? So you have to really want it, and you have to be. I see a lot of people who start, and then after 4 or 5 weeks they don't get what they want, and then they stop. It's you have to look at it as in changing your whole lifestyle and how you live to a more healthy, balanced lifestyle, not just something that you're going to do for 2 months. Because people will crash diet, lose the weight, and then they go back to what they were doing, and it's a constant yo-yo all the time.
Or even just get a plateau, right? Because you can, like, if you start a new diet, you're going to see some instant results. So that's going to plateau eventually. I notice a lot of people hit those plateaus and think that it's not working anymore. But I think that's the point where you have to kind of double down on yourself and be like, either A, make some micro adjustments to spark that again, or B, wait through that plateau and keep pushing.
Yeah, like, so, like, the fitness industry is, like, obsessed with weight loss. Like, it's just, the whole industry is designed around weight loss, like fast weight loss. Like, I don't think that's the right approach. Like, I think, as I said, the people then are joining all these, whatever it is, like, they're so stressed that they're, like, attempting a weight loss diet, like a calorie deficit diet, that's a stress in itself on the body. So, and I've had clients who've dropped their calories and they ended up putting on weight. Now, if you listen to any, if you turn on Instagram, you see all these coaches and say that's not possible, but it is possible. When the physiology is out of balance, anything can happen, and the body can do anything. Like, it can hold on to weight, it might put on weight, it might drop weight. I have people in the gym here who are eating 1,000 calories a day, and they're severely overweight. You know, so I think the focus should be on health over weight loss. Because what do people do when they want to lose weight? They exercise more and then they eat less. Right? Now that's fine. I'm not saying that doesn't work. It does work. But the more miles you have on the clock, the more that's going to take out of you. Like, so that might be fine for someone in their 20s, early 20s. But if you're talking about the most of the people I see that they're in their 40s now, they have kids, busy lives, they've more miles on the clock. That's not always the best approach. No, and you want to. So I was trying to get people to be more health focused, and then when you're at more of a baseline of health, then you can kind of tackle a weight loss period. But I think it's just this. They think weight loss equals health, but that's just not always the case. Like, you know, should focus on health. Should always be, in my opinion, should be the main goal all the time. Like, because you can drop your calories, but that doesn't mean you're eating healthy. You can be eating crap, but you're still maintaining that deficit and losing weight. But it doesn't address your digestive issues. So losing weight doesn't address the digestive issues, the hormonal issues, the fact you don't sleep, or whatever it is going on.
Yeah, being skinny doesn't mean you're healthy. You know, you can be very skinny and very unhealthy. So that's not, and it's not to say that like, oh, you need to be overweight in order to be healthy. That's not what I mean either. It's just that, you know, weight doesn't correlate with health. Yeah,
it's context. You know, I'm not against helping people. Like, you can do it healthy. I'm not saying that either. It's the cookie cutter approach. Like, everybody is different. Like, and the human body is so complex as well. Like, I mean, so many things. And you said that you have the mental, emotional aspect of all this stuff. You know, and we're emotional eaters and all this with traumas from childhood and all this. That's all ties into it. There's I know a lot of coaches who only focus on the mental and emotional, and when you start getting that in check, the weight falls off people anyway, without even attempting to do stuff with them. So that's another aspect.
Yeah, it can work both ways, because like working out can help your mental health, right? But if your mental health is bad, it doesn't matter how much you work out. You're not gonna affect. You need to be able to bring the two into harmony. And then I know you agree with me that there's a third component to that, which we call spirit or soul, that also kind of comes into harmony with that as well.
Yeah, it's about balance, isn't it? Everything. It's the yin and the yang. Like, you being a complete health freak is not. I mean, you won't even eat a scoop of ice cream. Like, that's no way to live either. Like, I mean, you're here on earth. You want to enjoy it as well. Like, I'm not saying people need to be 100% perfect all the time, because nobody's perfect. Like, and you can abuse anything. Like, you can abuse exercise. You know, you can be addicted to exercise so it's about the stress in your body. So anything can be a stress. So too much of anything is. So as I said, when people want to lose weight, they'll train more and they'll eat less. And with the training, then it's usually they join this boot camp, kill yourself for 6 weeks thing, do you know what I mean? And they end up feeling more tired than before they started. Like.
Yeah, so you mentioned stress, and stress makes us hold fat, right? So.
Yeah, the cortisol, like, means the more stress you are, the more time your adrenal glands are going to produce stress hormone, adrenaline and cortisol, and that's fine. That's what it does. That's what it's supposed to do. But when chronically this happens over time, year after year, that's when, like, the body starts to break down. Your digestion slows down, your thyroid slows down, you get all these autoimmune issues, and and that's when you're going on medication then, and you get more nutrient deficiencies So no matter what medication you take, it depletes your body of nutrients. Like every single pharma medication. And that's when it gets hard. But see, they're the people that I see the most that are just completely, they've got to that point now where they've gone all they tried the diets and it just doesn't work. They're not working. So like I get a lot of people, not a lot, but a lot of my mates now say I'm a bit over, like I'm a health freak or whatever. Like I think I am, but at the same time, if they saw the people that I see who are crying in the office here, and because their body is broken and they've been neglecting themselves, but they had the attitude when they were younger that, oh sure, look, it's just a bit of pizza here and there, or it's only a few drinks on the weekend. Yeah, but over time, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, then you're in your 40s and you have all of a sudden you have all these autoimmune issues, and then you're in pain. Then it's tough, like, you know. So it's better to address it before you get to that point, but most people don't, unfortunately.
We tend to live like we're going to live forever, and we can always fix those issues later, right? So I can say that from experience, if you're younger and you're listening to this, that's not fucking true. Deal with stuff now because you don't want to have to deal with it when you're 40. It's
100%, yeah. But I think back, like I wouldn't have listened to me back then, so it's like. Well, but I think everyone goes through that. You kind of go through that thing that just changes you. It's just like I used to smoke a lot of weed, like, and it was just in the space of a month that was it. Boom, don't smoke weed anymore. I don't know why. I just didn't want it. I drank my whole life. Haven't drank in a year and a half. Now I'm not drinking or never drinking again. It just kind of happened. I just stopped drinking. You know, I think a lot of this stuff kind of happens naturally for a lot of people.
You listen to yourself, for sure. We have
like it's the hero's journey, isn't it? But
exactly. So one more question, and then I'll let you go. But just maybe put yourself back into, you know, when Dean was young, or imagine, you know, someone like Dean coming along and wanting to be a fighter. What would be your advice?
To dedicate yourself to it. Don't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And just like if you're going to do it, go all in. Like, cause I remember, as I said, I was partying on the side, and I was fighting, and I was training during the week, and then partying on the weekend. For something like fighting, it just doesn't work. So, yeah, I say that would be my advice. Like back then, I didn't understand that you needed to be. And it might sound stupid now, but I didn't understand you needed to be dedicated to something. Do you get me? I just thought, I go train now 3 or 4 times a week. That's it, it'd be grand. Doesn't matter what I do outside the gym. You know?
It's definitely a lifestyle.
Yes, it's everything. Like, now I do like, but being too strict when you're too young as well, I don't think is good either, because I know a lot of lads that so typically people would start boxing when they were 8, 9. I didn't start till I was 14, 15, but the lads that were coming through when they were that young, by the time they get to 15, 16, they're just fed up with it. So I think it can go both ways as well.
Well, I think there's an overarching theme in this whole thing, which is balance.
The yin and yang, yeah. No, it's easier said than done, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a never-ending thing. Like the principle of balance is about offsetting weight on either side in order to maintain that balance, right? And that's not a static position. That's something that is, even if it's just slightly moving, it's constantly moving. Yeah,
and it's different. So I have different challenges now. So obviously I'm coaching now, and I'm always studying, like always trying to learn more. But it can get like where I'm like, it's never enough. I've never studied enough. I haven't I can't. Sometimes I'm sitting there watching a film and I can't enjoy the film. Oh, I should be reading now. I should be trying to learn. It's like, it's even now, like, it's always trying to find that balance there, like. So, but look, that's life, isn't it? It's probably gonna be doing that till the day we die, but yeah, it's funny. We didn't talk about conspiracies. I thought we'd get into that, but
maybe another time. I don't use this channel for that. I have another channel.
Yeah.
If you want to have that conversation, we'll do that on another channel. But
yeah, no, I listen. It's funny. I listen to. It's just funny. I'm talking to you now, actually, because I listened to. I first came across you on David Whitehead's podcast. I was listening to you. I was like, obviously I never heard you, and I listened to you. I was like, oh, jeez, Randy Mays. Like, you have to listen to this fella on Unslaved or as a Truth Warrior. So I've been kind of following you since then. So it's just a bit. It's funny that when you reached out to me to jump on. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I watch what you do, and I'm health, fitness, fighting, all those things are right up my alley. I'm very interested. I'm always trying to learn, and I love watching people who are trying to teach those things too, because I feel like it's an important thing. I think it should be more important to more people than it actually is.
Yeah, we all have our own. We have sound corny or cheesy. But we all have our own gifts or things that we're interested in, and we're into. I think it's just it's good to share those things with people. Like, yeah, just it's good. I think you need some meaning to your life. Like, I don't think I'm going to change the world around that, but it's nice to do something that you can kind of you care about, and it's meaningful to you, and it's actually helping some people in some way. So. Like, you get a lot of, when I start coaching as well, you get a lot of anxiety thinking that, oh, I'm not good enough. How am I going to have imposter syndrome? Like, who am I to help people? Or, this. But I'm confident now, like, no matter who comes to see me, that I can help them in some way, So that's a good feeling, like, and hopefully my clients agree.
Well, man, thank you for doing this. It's
no problem.
It's been fun and definitely educational, I think. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Shane. Appreciate it. I'll chat to you again, mate. See you guys.